Hello everybody, this is Mr. Navratil here. I'm going to be showing you how to do the second part out of the 7 that we have to do, and it's called the joint fixture. So I have my program loaded up here. I'm going to go up to the I, and I'm going to hit New. And just as always, we're going to use the standard IPT file and hit Create. That's going to create a blank space for us. From here, I'm going to go up to Start 2D Sketch. And it's going to give us those 3 planes of existence. Remember, we're always using the XY plane only because of the 3D printer. So I'll click there and it gives us our little grid. Looking at the drawing, this is the part that we're trying to make. And as always, I'm going to tell you the easiest way to go about this is to visualize this as a block of clay. So we want to start with the outermost dimensions and then go ahead and cut away the pieces that we don't need. It's always going to be the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to take a look at the overall length, which is 4.5, the overall height, which is 2.5. So I'm going to go back to Inventor and I'm going to use my rectangle tool starting at the origin, and from here I'm not making anything to size just yet because we're going to use the dimension tool to tell the program it needs to be 4.5 inches long. Let me zoom out, and 2.5 high, 2.5. That is our front view of our object, but we cannot add depth in this. We need to actually finish the sketch. You see it goes into like that 3D view. I'll zoom out again. And we're going to hit Extrude. Remember, it automatically chooses our profile because it's literally the only one that it can extrude at the moment. And looking at the drawing, using these as references, you can tell that it's 0.5, 0.5, and 0.5, which adds up to 1.5. So I'll go back and I will change our depth to 1.5 and then hit OK. So we have our outermost block of clay. Now we need to start taking away the pieces. So looking at the drawing, I'm going to go ahead and start with these angled surfaces here. And I can tell that they are 0.75 high and they are 0.75 as a width. So I'll go back to Inventor. I'm going to do it from this side. I'll right click and hit New Sketch. From here, it's always easier when you're first starting off a sketch on a side to use this tool up here. It's called Project Geometry. When you click it, it's going to ask you to click on a surface, and when you do, it projects all of the lines of that object onto the plane. So if we go to our isometric view, you can see a little bit better. Now everything's highlighted in yellow and we have lines we can connect properly. Going back to our front view, I'm going to use the line tool to create those chamfered edges. So I'll click 1 and 1, and then I'll go from the bottom to the top here. Notice they're not even close to what they should be just yet, and that's because we need to dimension them. I'll hit the dimension tool. I know from the top of the line to the bottom of the box needs to be 0.75, and then from this point of the line to the side of the box also needs to be 0.75. And this actually needs to be the same for both, so I'll do that again over here. 0.75, and then also from the bottom to this point of the line is 0.75. Looks like they were already constrained together, which is good. Just a note, if you were to try and do a dimension from the bottom to, let's say, this edge, it's not going to give you any type of measurable distance except for in degrees, and that is not what we want. Although it does end up being 45 because they're both 0.75 away, that is not what we're attempting to do. So I need to extrude these. I cannot do that in sketch mode. I'm going to come up and hit Finish Sketch, and then from here I'll hit Extrude. I can actually select both of these extrusions at the same time. It just saves you a little bit. But we don't want to add material like it's doing right now. We want to, in fact, cut. So I'll hit Cut here, and it's still set to 1.5, which is actually our depth, and that's great. So I'll hit OK. And as you can see, we have our chamfered edges, our angled edges on the bottom there. Now the last thing I need to do for this object is to create this trench. You can do this 2 different ways. You can draw on the side view and cut all the way over, or you can draw on the top view and cut a little bit down. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top view there. So if I right click, New Sketch, it pops up for the top view here. And just like the other one, I'm going to go ahead and hit Project Geometry. This is going to allow us to draw those lines nice and neat on the edges. And instead of wasting my time and doing 2 lines down, I can actually just use the rectangle tool. Start at the top and go all the way down, make sure it kind of snaps to the edge of the object there. And from here, it almost looks pretty good as is, but we need to make sure that it's exactly what we want. So I'll hit the dimension tool. From the side to this side of the rectangle, we want that to be 0.5. The rectangle itself is 0.5, and just like in the extrusion cube, if we attempt to dimension this one, it's going to give us that error message. This is because the entire depth is 1.5, and if this is 0.5, this is 0.5, this has to be 0.5. It cannot be anything else. So I just hit accept, and it puts it in parentheses for us. I'm all set. I'm ready to extrude, so again I'm going to hit finish sketch, and I will use the extrude tool to click on that profile. Now again, we do not want to add any material. We in fact want to take it away, and this ends up being too long. So we're going to go ahead and change it. If we go back to the drawing, you can tell from this view the dimension for that is actually 0.75. So going back to Inventor, 0.75 down, and there you have it. We have the joint fixture. Enjoy.